Ladies and gentlemen, this summit is organized under the auspices of the Ministry of Energy Transition and Sustainable Development of the Kingdom of Morocco. Please join me in welcoming Her Excellency Leila Benali.
Good morning, everyone. Sabah al-khair. Ministers, my dear colleagues, Minister Sakouri, Minister of Economic Inclusion, Small Businesses, Employment and Skills, Mr. Riyad Mzour, our Minister of Industry and Trade, Mr. Mohsin Jazouli, our Minister in charge of Investments and Public Policy Convergence, our Minister Abdeljalil, Minister of Transport. I think I didn't forget any of our Moroccan ministers, but I also would like to also welcome our friends, our European partners as well. I see Mr. Gérard Mestralet, Special Envoy of French President, our presidents of Mazen, UMCSP, Cluster Hydrogène, and of course our dear friends from Irezen who have been taking a big leadership role in organizing this summit that is becoming more and more important. I mean, last year I was wondering why are people interested in what is just a power conference at the end of the day. It should not be creating such a big fuss. But excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and honorable guests, all protocol observed, it's really a great honor for me today to welcome you to this 4th edition of the World Power-to-X Summit that is taking place again in the beautiful city of Marrakesh, organized under the high patronage of His Majesty King Mohammed VI. And I would like to start indeed by remembering the victims of last year's earthquake. We were last year gathered 10 days after the terrible earthquake that hit Morocco and took the lives of more than 3,000 people and injured more than 6,000 people. And it was the first international conference in Marrakesh at the time. And we really wanted last year's summit to be first a symbol of resilience of our country, but also to highlight our duty to build back better. We owe it to those people. We owe it to the people of our country, and we owe it to the people of the world. And I would also like to thank our ecosystem from the public and the private sector, who have also, all the companies that have been active in the energy space, in the renewable space, in the mining sector, and other industrial companies who have contributed significantly in kind and in money to the relief effort and to the reconstruction effort. And you can visit some of the solar panels and the batteries that were installed, including, thanks to Mazen, in some villages in the House provinces. So, ladies and gentlemen and dear friends, last year, the theme was not power to X, but power to the people, because we wanted to remind the world that we are doing this for the people. And this year, we thought it is very important, given all the changes that happened over the last year in geopolitics, in technology, in trade, in policy changes, that we come to the World Power to X with a lot of humility First, humility towards nature. We had a stark reminder last year, and since we want to harness the solar and wind resources and the land that comes from our nature, we should not forget that we are harnessing the power of nature for the people. Humility also towards, and you've heard me saying that already in the past, towards technology, technological changes and innovation. Nobody knows how the hydrogen, the green hydrogen, green methanol, green ammonia value chain is going to look like in the next few years. And by the way, my dear Samir Rashdi, I'm not going to wait until the fourth quarter of 2027 to get your green methanol pilot project in place. So, to be humble towards technology changes, we need to be ready to see, to witness, and have pilot projects for green methanol, for electrolyzers with or without membranes to be developed as fast as possible over the next few years. Humility towards policy changes and tax policies. And please, let's not underestimate post-COVID shocks. We are looking into some of the policy changes that are happening in the world. And remember, I was the first member of government to visit Berlin 1 month after the Russia-Ukraine war. And I remember at the time, I mentioned a $2 per kilogram production cost for green hydrogen. This was before Inflation Reduction Act. This was before subsidies into the green hydrogen space. And now we're having additional policy changes that happened over the last few years that are totally reshaping the value chains in green hydrogen, green ammonia, green methanol, because these are the sectors that we are tackling. So if we look, for example, at the ramifications of EU tariffs on Chinese EV that you've seen coming up last week, analysts are saying that this move might push back carbon targets and the timeline of carbon targets. Now, it's definitely not my role to dictate or to lecture anyone on what sort of policies they should take. And definitely not my role to dictate what sort of policies our EU partners will choose. But it's definitely my role to tell them, and I've been saying that over the last two years, that if they want access to low-cost, low-carbon energy and secure, stable, low-cost, low-carbon energy, we'll need those cables. We need those green shipping lanes. We need that green manufacturing pitched and financed in 2024. It's today that is happening. Last point when it comes to humility, and by the way, we need all this to be pitched and financed in 2024 simply because today, with all the changes that are happening in the world, Morocco is the only corridor linking Africa, the last reservoir of productive capacity if the world still wants to produce any additional growth over the next century, with the Atlantic Basin and Europe. The last point when it comes to humility is humility towards, indeed, project financing and project structuring. The models have to be changed. And one of the examples that we have, and that's also a message that I'm sending to our national utility, if you look at the investment plan of ONE today, we really want to make sure that they are given all the resources required to invest in transmission and distribution, particularly in transmission. Because there's no way for us to transport those electrons in the most efficient way if we don't multiply the pace of investments in our grids annually by 5, starting in 2021, so we're already late, and that's why today you will not see $1 billion of capex over the next 5 years for O&E in transport. You will not see $2 billion, you will see $3 billion of investment opportunities in transport. And we're having a side event tomorrow where we will focus on what sort of investment models to accelerate investments in grids and transportation. And I can apply the same thing for transporting, the same humility in project structuring for molecule transports, being in ships or pipelines. So we need the private sector. We definitely need financial institutions to take their fair share risk in this endeavor. My team wanted me to give a signal when it comes to the type of rates of returns that we are expecting, but I'll leave that to the side event tomorrow. So ladies and gentlemen, you're all here, and I'm happy to see a full room. You're all here also because of the Morocco green hydrogen offer. And Samir Rashdi has already given you the highlights of how we structured and the institutional space to give investors, well, first visibility, but also a safe space and a very transparent space where we can all manage together those policy risks, technology risks, and other risks while we are developing those technologies and fuels of the future. So I will not delve too much into the details of the Morocco green hydrogen offer. I just want to say that this land base of 1 million hectares that we have identified and mobilized is primarily to help us and help the world de-risk these future technologies in the 3 key sectors that will be off-taking those green electrons and molecules: electricity, industry, and transport. So today, I encourage each and every one of you to really seize these opportunities presented during this summit, to engage deeply in the discussions, collaborate on the solutions in 2024, not in 2030, because together we really have the potential to accelerate our progress. Africa cannot wait, Morocco cannot wait, and the world cannot wait. So I would really want you to come to this summit with an open mind, with a building on the legacy of innovation, cooperation, and really leadership that this summit has been known for over the last 4 editions. So thank you very much for being here, and I really look forward to the exciting discussions and innovations that will emerge during this summit. Welcome to the 4th edition of the World PtX Summit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for your inspiring speech.